In this video we are demonstrating how to replace a controller for the ET-Cycle T1000 or T720 electrical bike. Just a heads up that at a certain point during the process, we will have to remove a crank arm and it would require a crank holder. If this is something that cannot be done at your location, please bring the bike to a bike shop. The controller is the unit that connects to the 5 different components. The 3 cables on the left side connect to the battery, throttle, and LCD screen. The 2 cables on the right side connect to the crank joint and motor. The controller is located at the bottom of the bike. When we have to detach a controller and install a new one, it would be easier to flip over the bike. Before we flip, adjust the angles of the throttle, bell, LCD screen and control panel by loosening the clamps so they don't hit the floor. To prevent scratches, place something underneath to act as a cushion. Then we flip the bike. Take out the bolt to free up the controller and 2 cable clips to free up the cables so that they are not interfering with this operation. Use a plier to cut and remove the plastic straps that are holding the cable connecting to the motor. Once the cable is free, disconnect it from the motor by pulling the joints apart. Remove the bolt that is securing the crank arm on the same side as the motor cable. As mentioned earlier, after removing the bolt, a crank holder is required to remove the crank arm. Once the crank arm is removed, pull out the pedal sensor that is connected to the controller. On the other side, the cable connecting to the LCD screen can be disconnected easily. And the cable connecting to the throttle can also be disconnected easily. To free up the last cable that is connecting to the battery adapter, remove the battery adapter by loosening the screws. Carefully disconnect the cable and set the components aside. At this point, all of the 5 cables of the controller are freed up. Carefully pull out the controller and let the 3 cables pass through the channel. Now it's time to install the new controller. Wiring the 3 cables on the front side of the controller is the most challenging task of this operation, as the channel is long and narrow. The 2 longer cables need to exit from the farther opening to connect to the throttle and the LCD screen. The shorter cable needs to exit from the closer opening to connect to the battery adapter. A firm metal string or a flexible wire can be used as a guide, and it needs to go through the channel first and exit to the farther opening. The plier can be used to assist with the pulling. Pulling the last cable through the closer opening needs to be careful without damaging it. It is recommended to change the bike to the upright position for this task. The battery adapter can be reinstalled at this point while the bike is in the upright position. Connect the cables by aligning the arrow marks on the plugs. Carefully insert the adapter without damaging the cable, especially the area near the connecting point. Here is a close-up shot of the battery adapter, and we want to minimize all the external forces that will pass on to the connecting point so that the cable doesn't get damaged. Fasten the screws and make sure the adapter is secured and firm. The cable for the LCD screen and the cable for the throttle can also be reconnected at this point. Now it's time to fasten the controller. Align the controller with the bolt position. Before fastening the bolt, allow the nearby cables on the both sides to pass by freely, as they will be secured again with the cable clips that were removed earlier. The cable connecting to the derailleur may be sandwiched by the controller and the metal frame. Then we can secure the controller with a bolt. Fasten the cable clips to secure the nearby cables, one connecting to the derailleur and the other one connecting to the rear brake. Reconnect the cables for the motor by aligning the arrow marks on the plugs. Use plastic straps to re-secure the motor cable and cut off the excessive parts with a plier. The pedal sensor needs to be placed back to the crank joint. Then we can reinstall the crank arm. To push the crank arm back to the lock-in position, use a mallet to gently tap, with a cloth in between as a cushion. Fasten the bolt for securing the crank arm. Make it tight by using the leverages. It's time to flip the bike over, connect the battery, and see if we can turn on the bike. The final test is to see if the throttle and the pedal assist are working by actually riding the bike. Replacing a controller does require many steps and tools. We hope that the overall concept provided by this video is helpful. Contact us if you have further questions. Thanks for watching.